The SNT regular season is slowly but surely winding down, and after, of course, not starting our season with a restrictor plate race, it's about time we head to some of the highest banks in all of the United States. Welcome back to the Talladega SuperSpeedway, 2.66 miles of more than 180 mile-an-hour racing for each and every lap, and on tonight's agenda, we have 80 of which ready to set the stage for our 6th races of 12. It is the halfway 213, and you're watching Saturday Night Thunder live exclusively here on FTN. I'll be your host, producing and commentating all of tonight's racing. I'm David Kreutz, welcoming you back on a weekend that is filled with motorsport content. SRL Cup Series will be tomorrow, and as always, to lead us off, it'll be Saturday Night Thunder's qualifying session, which has only just begun. We have a total of 25 drivers registered for today's race, a nice bounce-back crowd at one of our more popular circuits, and already some of the best drivers in the field have risen up to the top of the timing charts. Jim Thurston going to be up on the head of the board, the number 96 in the provisional pole position. However, that is due to change now as drivers are taking their opening laps. You might remember Henry Kaloff already has himself a victory at this very circuit, and Kaloff is right now on the track taking his very first of 2 laps. Henry came away with his first ever OSRL Cup Series victory just a few days ago, this past Thursday night. And after long last, number 63 found his way to victory lane at the Richmond Raceway. He's also gotten it done in SNT at the Talladega SuperSpeedway. So there's a lot of opportunity as right now Jordan Kuntz gets onto the circuit, and it looks like he grabs the provisional pole by 1/100th of a second. Patrick Gentner going to be in third, and Dana Van Meter's in fourth. Matthew Weeks, the defending champ, has been coming off of recent podiums, notably last week able to get it through for a top 3 finish, and Matthew's been adding podium after podium to his resume. So far, not able to find victory lane to this point. However, it looks like right now as he comes through the high banks of 3 and 4, Weeks is going to have a good chance to set himself up for the next lap, but that next lap will not come. Mind you, this is a 1-lap qualifying session, so for Matthew here, does not look like it's in his interest to maybe go for an aggressive lap, and instead, as he comes across the stripe once more, Matthew's going to come through with lap time total only 49 seconds to get up inside the pole position, of course. He's 11 seconds off that. He's, matter of fact, off the pace by a wide margin. That was a 1-minute flat pace lap. Let's see what he can do this time by 54-second rather than the margin. Timing and scoring showing what was an incomplete lap, and now with accurate results coming up this time by, there's still a chance as Shane Wheeldon jumps up into the 6th spot. 8th place is now going to be Patrick Gentner, his teammate, and that's Hurricane Esports coming together. Dana Van Meter down to 9th. Gino Marrow also on the track, and Gino looking for a bounce-back race after what was overall early success in Bristol, not able to capitalize it on, of course, the very end. Second half of the race did not go his way, and now Gino due to come across the stripe with less than a minute remaining here in his one and only lap. Shooting up to the top of the board, Carter Casey has collected the pole position, and Matthew Weeks across the line is able to settle in for the outside front row, 21 thousandths of a second away from the top spot. Gino Marrow goes 6th quickest, and as such, 15 drivers have taken a time going back to Luna Albright in the number 4, a rookie in this series. And let's see now what Luna can do. Of course, coming down to pit road, no chance to set that second lap time. Everyone who has taken a time so far will be the only drivers who will have the opportunity to do so. With less than 20 seconds now and no other driver attempting a lap, there will be no additional times taken. And so it looks to be official that for the second time in the past 3 weeks, and the 3rd time overall, Carter Casey will be on the front row this season, but no longer as the driver on the outside pole. He will have outright pole position status. It will be Carter Casey leading the field to green tonight from the Talladega SuperSpeedway. I've got 5 minutes of warm up here before we get on to our racing, so how about we take a look up from our eye in the sky at Talladega SuperSpeedway as a whole. 2.66 mile circuit doesn't even fully fit into our camera camera here, as you see. And with that being said, these drivers will have ample room all throughout the track. Not going to be like Bristol, where of course everyone was packed in together. A little bit of a larger field, so to compensate for that, we got ourselves a little bit of a larger track. Now, with that in mind, we got a track that of course is going to provide entertainment at high speeds, much like Bristol, and high banking reminiscent. However, drivers won't have to worry about getting off the gas pedal if all is done correctly. Now, taking a look at your starting grid for tonight's event, it'll be Carter Casey finding himself up to the pole. It's going to be the number 8 with a 54.237. Getting up to the top of the board alongside him will be Matthew Weeks in the second spot, 54.258 there for Weeks. And third place going to be Jordan Coots, who finds himself right beside Vinny Tigner, who tonight looks to be in the number 13. Henry Kaloff is going to be inside of row 3. He's there in 5th. Chino Narrow is in 6th. And it'll be then Jordan Owens at P8. And Shane Wheeldon is in 8th spot tonight. Allowed his teammate right behind him. Benjamin Bushnell able to get up inside the top 10 in qualifying. Strong run for some of the rookies, notably Owens and Bushnell lined up together. It'll be 9th place for Ben Bushnell and Patrick Gentner. Then from there will be the last driver inside of the top 10. 11th place is going to be Dana Van Meter. And tonight we'll have another driver in the 12. That will be Timothy Powell with Kenneth Correll, then 13th. And the 39 is Elijah Hawley, a rookie in this series, making his first career start. It'll be then the number 4, Luna Albright, who's going to be inside of row 8. Alongside Luna, it's going to be Jim Thurston, 16th place. River Page and Alec Daffin, they're going to line up 24-48. They are going to be 17th and 18th on the board. And then you'll have the number 29 of Matthew White with Mac Grab concluding the top 20 overall. Then you'll have 21st place Alexander Balderas, Connor Asbell in 22nd. Then James Bowden in 23rd. And Tyler Sevier in 24th. And then, of course, last of which, Roger and Tyler, respectively, positions 24 and 25 on your starting grid. 13 rows, 25 drivers, and bringing it back to Talladega with a field of nearly 30. That is your starting grid for the halfway 213. Now, as drivers, of course, are taking their final practice laps here, let's see who's formed up in groups. It looks like already a 6-car pack going at it that is split up somewhat. Here's a look at Dana Van Meter and company running single file. Single file packs right now. Nothing all too aggressive in the last 2 minutes of warm-up. Drivers aren't expected to make all too many changes with the setup tonight. The strategy should be very straightforward, all things considered. 80 laps on the table. Not all too much time at Talladega given the high speeds on the circuit. And it means one thing for these drivers. If they go green, they can all stay together until those final 20, 15, 10, even 5 laps. If not, we're going to see drivers come together back and forth, and they'll have to deal with the fact that these cautions will give some drivers better opportunities than others. We have one fast repair, which is available for every driver, so it means that that first incident will be given a bit of a second chance here rather than it being done and done. Now, that's something we are not doing at every circuit, but it appears it has returned once again. We saw it at Bristol, where the short tracks often you need something to combat the aggressive nature of other drivers around you. More of the same here tonight, and looks like right now Dana Van Meter with the quickest time being pulled around the track by Shane Wheeldon, and now coming up on Ben Bushnell in the number 55 here. Ben gonna stay right ahead. Looks like no reason here for the 55 to move out the way, and although maybe attempted a block or two, Shane Wheeldon stays put. 50-second lap times in the quickest bracket so far. Drivers have taken lap times from anywhere from 50 seconds to about 56 seconds in this session. Jim Thurston so far with the slowest time set, and it looks like he's going to back it down and have to go down a pit road if anything. Last few seconds here of practice, and it looks like he might decide to go to pit road by his own means, taking it back in reverse, albeit with very slow pace. 27 of Dana Van Meter will set the fastest time in final practice. 27 top of the board here with a 50.67. quickest by 26 thousandths as a pack begins to form 2 by 2. If they're quick enough like that with only 3 or 4 drivers work together, you got to imagine with 25 drivers stacked from top to bottom, we're going to see even faster speeds and even faster laps as the night progresses. iRacing official pace car joins us on the track, and so now it's time to take a look downstairs as the starting grid is in formation. There's the iRacing pace car first and foremost, and there's the iRacing pace car a little bit closer and a little bit closer. Now we'll get a better view, of course, as we look beyond the pace car. This is the back of the field with the number 40 and 77 respectively. There is Jordan Kuntz up front. We are still awaiting our final drivers in the front row, which will be Carter Casey and Matthew Weeks. Jordan Kuntz already locked in. Tonight, Vinny Tigner will be in the number 13 according to timing and scoring. However, he's most likely still putting on that very familiar number 12 livery he's had all throughout the season. For Timothy Powell, says the number 12, of course, with starting grid. He's going to have the number 75, it appears, tonight, so tricky to look back and forth between them, but Vinny Tigner will have a different number to go with today's race. Carter Casey going to be at the front of the grid once again, and it seems like so far this season, well, Carter Casey has been able to capitalize on opportunity, notably quick last week at Bristol. Front row has not dealt him too many favors so far in this campaign, and running it back with the Lucas Oil number 8, which we saw the first time Carter was at the head of the field to start a race. And that was, of course, Las Vegas. Took a gamble early on, tried to make a move on the outside, and unfortunately for Carter's sake, that ended up being the race-ending incident for the number 8. Effectively speaking, he was out of winning contention before the race really began, and he found himself down and out, losing many points compared to contenders like Wilkerson and Jordan Kuntz. Now, interestingly enough, the biggest and most notable absence in the championship tonight is the number 43 of Jacob Wilkerson, which means he will have no chance to sort of level the score with Vinny Tigner or Jordan Kuntz or Alec Daffin and the like, and he's sitting at 2 wins so far in these 6 races. However, the driver who's beat him so far with 3 confirmed victories, that's Jordan Kuntz, and tonight that 6th victory on the calendar is up for grabs. Anyone can take it, although it looks like the championship contenders once again find themselves up front, looking to seal that spot up early. Pace lap here in Talladega, 80 laps ahead of us, 213 miles. We've done this many a time before on the iRacing platform, be it iRacing's Thursday night leagues on FTN, IORA, the Highline Racing League. Monday night, the Integrity Ignite Series has gone 100 laps caution-free with this car and track combination. And while these are significantly shorter races than that of the real world, where we see upwards of 350 miles at Talladega, there's ample opportunity for long-term strategy as the race progresses. Now, let's talk a little bit about the conditions of this track here in Talladega, because those are due to play a major role. 2.66 mile circuit, so you might feel different things in different turns. A track that could almost have its own zip code, but conditions will be very reliable tonight for drivers. Winds are going to be northbound at a very calm 1 to 2 miles an hour on the day, relative humidity of 40% flat, and a track temperature of only 75 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. And there will be no sunset in Talladega here. Of course, this track does not yet have lights, so we can't afford to have the sun set on these drivers without calling the race prematurely, which has happened before. You might remember Brandon Brown's iconic victory at the Talladega SuperSpeedway. While iconic outside of the driver's seat, it also came about due to the fact that Talladega has yet to adapt, and while other superspeedway style tracks such as Daytona and now Atlanta do have lights, we have yet to see it from Talladega, sticking with the traditional way since 1969 when it opened up. Still a track that runs by daylight. And the sun is setting for some drivers to enter the championship picture. A win tonight would be crucial for late entries into the championship, such as River Page or Jim Thurston or Alexander Balderas. Those drivers, all of which could be starting in the back of the field. But familiar faces are going to hold the fort up in front in Talladega. It'll be of one of which Carter Casey leading the field to green. Heading now toward the start-finish line, Carter Casey with the advantage of the inside groove. We are green from Talladega. Welcome to our halfway point in season 2024B. And so to kick off tonight's racing, dead even, toe-to-toe, side by side. Nothing too extreme, nothing too aggressive, and so drivers have held forward. Both line leaders are still your pole sitters on the inside and outside, and it looks like not much has changed in that regard. We're going to stay double file perhaps for the opening portion of this race. I'm maybe going to see it up until about lap 2025 if these drivers decide to remain especially conservative, which is a possibility, although no, you'll see some drivers decide to do the exact opposite. Here comes River Page in the number 24, Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports coming as a line. You'll see River Page, you'll see Jim Thurston, you'll see Alexander Balderas already shaking up the order, and Dana Van Meter's going to get loose as a result in reaction, but it looks like River will get away and take the position rather quickly. Now you'll see the difference in approach between drivers, whether or not they want to be aggressive or conservative. Now's the time you have to act and react, and River Page already getting loose. We cannot have that go on if these drivers want to have a successful night. Luna Albright up into Alec Daffin. They'll go into each other again. Contact coming down the track. Luna Albright going to get loose. We stay green, and a reaction to River Page and company. Luna's going to get loose. Contact with a Shaw Racing 48. Both drivers substantially out of the pack now, and it looks like they're going to need a caution, if anything. One that does indeed fall. Yellow flags out. The back of the field looks to be fine, at least in the main pack. Nevertheless, the yellow flag will fall due to several tangential incidents at the tail end, notably starting with River Page, and it looks like that initial shuffle really shook the field up. Here's a look at, of course, where River was, then Alec Daffin. Contact there from Kenneth Gorell and Luna Albright. Additionally, just behind, that's the number 1 of Elijah Haughey. Comes up the track, and 3 drivers going to get tailed out very quickly, losing that opportunity to stay with the draft. There's Kenneth Gorell with, of course, the 00, Patrick Gentner, and it looks like while the rest of the field got away, Daffin and company, such as Luna Albright, losing so much time early, and multiple incidents there, slipping and sliding. Early aggression brings us to a standstill here, lap 4 out of 80. So going to be at that early standstill. Carter Casey is still your race leader, and it looks like not much has changed at the head of the field. A good job for these drivers, of course, to put themselves together and race once again. Very calm at the front, but it looks like that aggression in the back is going to cost not only the drivers who are up and ahead, but now it's just going to cost more of those who are further on back. What can they do now? That remains to be seen. And for the time being, just have to wait for what is yet to come. A first restart, a chance maybe to come down to pit road now even, but very unlikely to see many drivers make that move, although it could occur. For the time being now, most drivers are going to decide to stay up on the track. Who's going to commit first? That is the question. Carter Casey seeping a little bit lower, and it looks like it's about time for him to decide. He'll go down and in and take the field with them. So a first try to come down to the pit road, and it's going to be Carter Casey, Jordan Kuntz and company then on back, making their way in. Take a look now as pit road strategy has only just begun. So now it's number 8 of Carter Casey with that pole position stall. He's the first in, and he'll be the first out once again. Casey going to make the move, and he's going to lead with them. Matthew Weeks, Henry Kaloff, Gino Marrow, Vinny Tigner, Jordan Owens, Jim Thurston, Mac Grab, and Kenneth Gorell, all of which are going to remain on the lead lap as a result of this very brief cycle on a pit road. And so now we find ourselves getting ready to roll again. Carter Casey might no longer, of course, be the race leader, but at the same time, now he's got himself a chance on newer rubber and with a splash of fuel, which means he'll have to worry at least somewhat less relative to other competitors about fuel for tonight's race. That's going to be the big incentive to go down a pit road. Not necessarily going to come down to, of course, trying to go in based on tire. Talladega does, of course, burn up the tire given high speeds, but at the same time, it's not necessarily grueling. More so, it comes down to whether or not you can manage that fuel, because tire tonight, especially given the fact we have very moderate track conditions. Not going to harm the drivers. Instead, they'll just have to deal with what they have and ensure they can go the laps. The numbers matter most. Fuel cap, let's talk about that here in SNT. We don't have a fuel cap. We do have a tire set limit, which is coming in at 4 sets, although it looks like that will be a number that really means little in tonight's strategy. You can use them early, you could use them late. It'd be preferable not to burn through them, but short of really messing yourself up with a few spins back and forth, every driver should be fine. We'll come back to green at lap number 8 of 80 here. First caution of the day involving Alec Daffin, Luna Albright, and maybe a little bit of a River Page getting up there aggressive early and sending a message, although I don't think it's a message that drivers would like to hear. So far, River has been making gains. He's up from 17th, was as high as 11th, and now finds himself 13th place. He's up 4 so far, and maybe with room still to spare, he's got his Power Smash Infinity Speed teammates who have tried to be as aggressive, although it looks like for now, Alexander Balderas is going to be in 15th, and then you got Jim Thurston, who finds himself, well, he finds himself ahead. Mainly on that strategy finesse, Jim has made his way up into 8th. Field will go green for the first time tonight under restart conditions, getting ready to see what's on the table for a guy like, Dana Van Meter, leading the field for the very first time today and deciding not to go down a pit road like most other drivers have. Now, the difference is only 5 laps, and so for tires it will be pretty indiscernible, and for fuel, while minor, it shouldn't make all too much of a difference. Now we question whether or not Dana has made the right decision. Does this decision have any real implications, or is it just a difference to get that track position? Maybe if we go long, there will be some consequences, but if we have up to a 20-lap stint, 20 to 25 under green, this really isn't going to be a decision that means much unless Dana, of course, makes something of it, wrecks, or ends up going down a pit road prematurely regardless of what occurs on the circuit. All 3 outcomes are possible, but not necessarily likely, as we are heading into turns 3 and 4 once again. Casey will hold control up high. Down low will be Dana Van Meter. The 2 drivers are going to get things going again at lap number 8 of 80. We've already, of course, gotten to that 10th of the way marker, but we got there rather slow compared to how we started with some good green flag racing. Let's see now whether or not the drivers take this first caution as the message, or if it's only a sign of things to come, maybe a message warning us of what is due up next. Dana, Casey, up in the front of the field. Looks like Carter not going to get the best of starts, although pushed by Henry Kaloff, and the green flag is off once again. Dana Van Meter gets the jump and brings the field back up to race speed as we're now going through our first turns. Casey going to hold that advantage now on the outside. Maybe not getting the best of starts, but it's clear as day. Henry Kaloff, the one he wants, pushing him right on the backside. Henry going to be able to propel him after getting a weaker launch out of the final corners and through the front straightaway. And instead now it's going to be the number 8 of Carter Casey holding it ahead. It's the number 8, then the 63, and then the number 12 of Vinny Tigner, who tonight is going to be scored as the number 13 anyway. And now as Vinny makes it across the stripe, he'll lead the outside and have Gino Marrow take a spin. It'll be a rookie now with the opportunity to push your league owner up to the front of the pack. And so Vinny Tigner now is up there side by side with Carter Casey. Both drivers going to be neck and neck as they're coming through the Alabama Gang super stretch. Tigner 71, Chimera Creative Machine. That's Gino Marrow. Now I'm going to look up high because Vinny Tigner looks low. Both drivers decide to make a little bit of a difference here, and so in that, Jim Thurston comes up inside of the top 5. It'll be Thurston now up into position number 3 according to scoring. He's going to be second on that outside row, so really in a good position to hang tough in the podium. Now all of a sudden he's the man who's leading it up top. You're seeing a bit of a pattern though with how these outside leaders decide to take their racing. They decide to get that race lead, and it looks like not many of which have been interested in staying high. Instead, dropping down low seems to be preferable, a little bit more comfortable, and perhaps an opportunity to really block both lanes. Momentum on the inside has been dominant, although that's because so many drivers from the outside continue to migrate down. You can't really tell what the true potential of that high side is. At least for now. That could change, but for the time being, it looks like drivers are convinced they want to be low. As much as they can do to get there will be done. 71 of Gino Marrow, side by side now with Jim Thurston. It looks like Jim's going to decide to go up top side here and stay there. Gino Marrow was up high, he decides to go low, and now we'll see some drivers taking it even higher. Ben Bush now, and it looks like with them, it's going to be one of our rookies here. It's going to be Powell inside the top 10, although for the time being, it looks like both drivers, including Bushnell and Tim Powell alike, going to be fading back drastically as one driver got through. That was Alexander Balderas. The 95 gets up inside of the top 10. Rewind, back of the field looks to be very, very minuscule in regards to its impact on the track, and so Alexander Balderas now rushes down the back straight, and ahead of him will be River Page, Kenneth Gurrell. Now a little bit of a dented front end, no, a back end though that is seeing trouble, and the Refined Engineering 57 team not doing the best of jobs so far, of course, to clean that car or keeping it clean. Although that's something that can be easily repaired if, of course, we have another pit cycle. 3 wide now. They're going to put Kenneth down the middle here. Nobody else wants to be in now. That middle hole, it looks like he's going to be pushed back and forth. And nobody's going to take it. The number 57, he'll have to make his way down there forcibly. Kenneth, luckily, ends up in the 3rd row, and Alexander Balderas is now the odd man out, holding himself on the high side and probably on the loud pedal at its fullest extent. Not getting enough out of it. As you can see here, Alexander Balderas letting Connor Asma go by, and so does Carter Casey, so does Shane Wheeldon. Right now for Balderas, he is certainly not on the up and up, and it looks like that decision to try to take it 3, he's really not gotten any support, and so he'll fade back, whereas the Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport drivers are now 1st and 2nd without Balderas. They got Gino Marrow to contend with, and of course, Vinny Tigner right down on the bottom. Gino Marrow was a driver due for his first career win, and it looks like his rookie season, as impressive as it has been so far, on paper there's a difference from what we've seen on the track. Top 5 finishes, I'm sure that he'd have spades of which if he had seasons of experience, but even though Gino was a driver who has only just begun his SNT career, it is clear he will be a driver to be reckoned with in the playoff picture. Even though he really doesn't know these drivers all too well, he seems to know the tracks and he seems to understand the car. Chimera Creative has sent their flagship driver out week after week to open up the season, and with it, you've seen Gino come through race after race with top 5 speed, even as recently as Bristol, and what we saw starting course in Auto Club. Now back at a fast track, and even though it is not Fontana, there's a chance here for Gino Marrow to maybe break out and put something into writing, getting that first victory at a track where most everyone can go at it and win. But just because everyone can doesn't mean everyone will. Now one driver is going to lose their chance to be up there. That's Matthew White in the 29. Matthew will be the first driver to head 1 lap down. So, as he does so, the 29 is going to let everyone go by. He'll stay up on the top side, very little trouble, and as such, the field will not be concerned. Jim Thurston had the lead briefly. Gino Marrow's now got it again. It'll be tossing and turning back and forth, but for River, he's got a second car that he can rely on all throughout. River Page and the Power Smash drivers, Floppa Racing embedded as well. They've been working with each other most every week in the IORA Cup Series. Thursday night, we just saw them in Atlanta just a week ago, and they were really right with each other till the very end. Unfortunately, it meant for the both of which that they ended up wrecked, and that gave the victory to the eventual Atlanta race winner. That was Alexander Balderas, and like what we see from Balderas right now, he was at the tail end of the field for the entirety of the race. 98 laps. He could not lead. He led to the white flag. He led to the checkered. Meanwhile, guys like Thurston and River Page, they held down the fort. They led the entirety of the race, and, well, it looks like they're doing that now. They would love not to replicate those results from Atlanta and not get caught up in a last lap incident. Toe-to-toe, double file at the head of the field. It looks like that caution coming more so as a result of the scrambling further on back than anything else. Alec Daffin has not yet used a faster pair, as the most of the field have not decided to do so. It looks like drivers are going to be abstaining from going toward that very early incident, and it looks like even though we saw some back and forth tussling, it didn't really mean all too much in regards to long-term damage. You take a look at Alec Daffin's back end, though. It is definitely repaired, so perhaps it was just minor damage that he could shake off quickly. We even see the drivers who were involved, such as Luna Albright, running up inside of the top 10. Right now, Luna's going to be scored just within the confines in the 12th position, and as high as 11th across the stripe that time by. Luna not done yet, even with what was a little bit of damage from that back and forth tossing and turning. That's something drivers have to acknowledge here. You cannot be reckless, even if we have that opening caution or two. It should not be an invitation to open the door to over-aggressive driving. Oftentimes, yes it is, but it's not a good standard to set. Luckily, these drivers with seasons of experience have been leading the field, save for, of course, the 71 of Gino Marrow, and as for the rest, it looks like they're just following the lead of all those who have been keeping right with it out of the front. And it's great to have that example at the front of the field showing what should be done. Oftentimes, we see in these super speedway races on iRacing that a 3 wide becomes especially common in the opening laps. Now, that's something we've been seeing for years here on FTN in particular, and let's throw it back to Shane Wheeldon, the number 98 right now, a driver who has not found all too much success in this league particularly. However, Shane Wheeldon's FTN days go back to early 2022 with the Rush Truck Series. In that series, he won in Talladega, which was one of the few races not won by eventual Highline Racing League driver Caleb Morrissey and Michael Overstreet. Shane Wheeldon was able to find his way in the middle and get a victory at Talladega. Now, ever since that point, he hasn't found all too much in S&T. However, tonight he does have a teammate, and emphasizing that team racing goes a long way. But the difference between the Rush Truck Series and S&T is that field size. Never would we see more than 15 drivers on track for Rush. And for SNT, we frequently see upwards of 25 to 30 drivers. However, one of the principles that applies between both is communication. You have to understand, of course, the mindset of drivers. What do they know that you don't? What do you know that they don't? And how can you apply that knowledge to put things together without any further problems? You do not want to overcomplicate the issues at hand. In large part, drivers don't necessarily disagree with each other. They more so have their own ways of going about things and don't want to interfere with one another, which is of course a good practice to have. You don't want to wreck anyone else, but sometimes that lack of communication can go a long way in the opposite direction and maybe lead to more incident, more trouble, additional complications, things that you just don't want to have on the racetrack. And so right now, these drivers are deciding to hold each other to a very honest standard, decide not to really race over aggressively, and as such, looks like right now, Jim Thurston decides to drop down on the bottom, and it'll be Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports with total team control on the high side and the low alike. It's the number 71 of Gino Marrow dropping to the bottom here. It looks like in its place, the 96 of Jim Thurston decides to go up top. Contact Connor Asbell. That's going to send one driver around. It'll be the 0-0 Patrick Gentner with Jordan Owens. Contact back of the field. This looks to be due as a yellow flag, and the caution will drop. Yellow flag not officially signaled here. Reviewing the incident, though, it looks like officials will determine that is a cause for caution. Taking a look back right now, we are still not seeing that. Although there was multiple cars involved in an incident, they went around spinning. Let's see when the officials decide. What if they've decided instead to leave it green, which would be an interesting call. 21 laps in out of 80. Take a look at this once again. So Kenneth Garrell loose, and it looks like then Patrick Gentner responds, hooked down by Alec Daffin and company. That will collect Jordan Owens, and no, the yellow flag will not be called. And so the call going to be overturned for it to be an incident, and so we stay green regardless of multiple drivers spinning, although it looks like very small damage despite the nature of that wreck. We stay green up and ahead. 96 of Jim Thurston, River Page in the 24 will stay at it at the front of the pack. So now Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport not only leads, but they are single file. Don't have to worry about drivers behind. It looks like instead, it's all about the 96 and 24 hanging tough up at the front of the field, while some of the backpackers are laying dormant. Caution is out now, and so it looks like every driver will get a chance to settle in once again. The yellow flag will be thrown as a result of that incident. However, it comes in rather late, 22 laps in out of 80. Caution's out for the second time today. Pack is put together already, and we saw that instant replay here. So Jim Thurston, River Page, they're up at the top of the board. They are first and second now, and they're doing a great job, of course, not only defending that race lead, but they are on the offense, making big moves that are not really being replicated by anyone else so far, and that's why Power Smash holds first and second. The question becomes more so, what can they do up next to extend that race lead? You can't really break away from the draft. That's almost impossible at a track like Talladega, but you can also ask the question in terms of how can they keep themselves leading laps consistently without having to worry about the juggernauts back and forth battling behind them. You always have to hold some concern with those drivers, but at the same time, if you can prevent them from really getting up to you, that's a different story. Now River Page is coming back up to the driver of the number 96, who is Jim Thurston, leading the way. You got Gino Marrow, Vinny Tigner, Matt Grab, so on and so forth, all bunching up again. We're due to go back green at about lap number 26 here, and pit road might get busy once more. Let's see what drivers decide as we make it down and into pit road. Once again, the 96 of Thurston, the 24 of Page, ready to do battle, this time off the racing circuits. Heading to pit road, Thurston will decide to go down and in, and looks like with them, every other driver agrees it's time to make it to the pit road once again. Carter Casey does have the pole position stall, but no longer has that pole position track position. Let's see what he can do now as he tries to make up multiple spots. He's going to be coming in from 10th on the starting grid. Here comes Carter Casey. There goes Matthew Weeks and Wistall as well. Coming out first, though, it looks like it's going to be a race off a pit road consisting of, among others, well, Jim Thurston winning again. Then you have Jordan Kuntz and Alec Daffin right beside each other. Two drivers that really were not notable in that past run, and yet Kuntz is up to second, and Daffin to third, Gino Marrow fourth, and multiple drivers here. I do not believe they took tires. It might have been a splash and go for a guy like Thurston, a guy like Kuntz, or Daffin alike. And so pit stop times, well, that really tells the story, as drivers just got off a pit road, some of which for the first time, well, one of which Dana Van Meter, some of which for the second. For Alec Daffin, it's his third time down and in. Same goes for 8th place Tyler Seaver, and it looks like James Bowden, Roger in the 40, and then the majority of the field has come in twice so far. That first stop, of course, coming in very early with that instant yellow. Alec Daffin came down twice during that cycle, and so here we go again. Jim Thurston still leading, although slightly different circumstance, as your top 6 drivers went in for what seems to be complete service here, all of which going in fuel, splash and go. Shane Wheeldon no longer scored in 7th. He was before the incident occurred. Now he finds himself down in 22nd according to our scoring from our most recent lap. 25 laps in out of 80 when we come across the stripe. No driver a lap down, no driver a retiree. Jordan Owens might be in a little bit of jeopardy, as you can see that number 45 resulting from our last wreck. So he might have to deal with a few more troubles today than most others on the track. Number 96 of Jim Thurston so far, your race leader. And alongside him for this restart, it will be Jordan Kuntz in the 99. One lap to green. Jim Thurston going to have the bottom, and there goes Jordan Kuntz up top. Gino Maro, who is holding his own very well with Vinny Tigner, well, the two are separate now, and it looks like Gino will be ahead of Vinny Tigner on a separate low. Of course, Rowe will be the number 12. Up top will be the 71. Putting it together in position once again. All 25 drivers do appear to be on the lead lap. Jordan Owens is getting back with drivers right now, and you can see him coming through. There's the number 45. He'll get back with the field, and across the line, here comes Jordan Owens, the 45, 25th and last for now. He'll have just enough time to make it back with the field as they rush down the Alabama Gang super stretch all over again. Thurston and Kuntz having a chance to do battle directly for the first time this season. We saw Jim coming through, and of course at Bristol he had speed, laps led, but ended up involved in a late race incident. Similarly, when we get intermediate racing at Texas, Jim Thurston, top 5 driver, ended up getting spun through the final pit cycle and had to putter home, whereas his power smash Infinity Speed teammate Alexander Valderas came out in the better half with a top 10. Now tonight, looks like the 96 is establishing control early and looking to hold it throughout the rest of the race. What can be done now for a driver who's already gotten that track position? You can't gain any more. Now you've just got to deal with the drivers around you, one of which was coming up next. It'll be the 99 of Jordan Kuntz. It's the best spot he's been in all night long, and with that comes Alec Daffin, and to his own extent, he has been making gains from 18th up to 3rd for the driver of the 48. He's gained 15 positions on the day, and now is looking to take 2 more. Green flag and a fly. Second restart of the night here. Jim Thurston going to be the man who's advantageous. Green flag out on the circuit once again. Here we go with Thurston leading the way across the start-finish line. Big jump for both of your line leaders. They're able to take that lead and actually now find themselves together on the inside groove. Fantastic job from the both of which now as they have the advantage, rushing down the back straight again. Now we'll see what Alec Daffin can do. So it looks like he's going to swap up and go to the top side and decide to make that groove work. With them going to be Gino Maro, and so they'll be side by side, and then the 96 of Thurston blocks, and he'll get sent right down the middle, and that's the worst possible thing Thurston could have done. Now going to find himself on neither the inside or outside group, and nobody looking to work with the 96 for now. Very tricky position to put yourself in if you are Thurston. You gotta find your way out and fast. Luckily, Thurston does find room getting behind Matt Grab, but Alec Daffin still holds the outside route to his own, and as such, Jim Thurston to find himself working way back. Now Carter Casey's trying to take it 3 wide here, going with River Page, and it looks like the number 77 coming right with. As such, Tyler gonna be leading that groove. Then you got Carter Casey running second of 3, River Page in 3rd, and last of which, although River just got in the wall here, he's going to have to back it down and get back in the draft. 3 wide has been very unsuccessful to this point, and once again another example, drivers have not yet been able to make that strategy work out. Maybe there's something that can be done to really get a 3rd group going, but strength in numbers is real in Talladega, maybe even more real than it would be at Daytona or Atlanta. Atlanta really doesn't have much room for 3 wide. In the IORA Cup Series, we did see 4 wide to finish the race. However, that finish came with perhaps the biggest wreck we've seen at that track. It came down to 15 plus drivers getting involved in the last lap incident. 4 wide is not successful in Atlanta. Track position, strength, and numbers doesn't mean as much. Daytona, there's a lot more room. The inside line oftentimes preferable, but we've seen a third groove come together and form out of nothing. 1 or 2 drivers can make a big difference at that track, and in large part that comes down to the brand new surface that's been put in Daytona. It's not brand new any longer, but just under 15 years old means that the slicker track is a little bit more you can work with without having to worry about those bumps and grooves, and there's not as much resistance on the circuit, which means drivers can thrive on their own merit. However, in Talladega, not only is it wider, it is larger, there's higher banking. It also comes with the fact that this track is worn in, and decades of wear and tear in racing has allowed for drivers to put themselves in the position where they have to focus on getting drivers together. This track has not been repaved since 2006. Nearly 20 years of rubber worn in, and the difference between 2006 and 2011 is major in racing. Those first 5 years are where most of the damage is done. Everything else is just additional, which explains why a track like Atlanta needed desperately to be repaved, although it might have not needed to be reconfigured from 1996 to 2021. That is some 25 years in one state. Now, 1 driver down to the apron. That looked to be Alexander Balderas working it down low. To no avail, the number 95 will fall back a little bit further, now finding himself in 14th, 7/10 back on your overall lead. And these drivers are so close to one another even still, and that's the consequence. 63 is going to go spinning. Henry Kaloff, yellow flags out. Roger Seaver into the inside wall, and so the caution will fly once again. 3rd time in 30 laps. Henry Kaloff goes sliding and actually gets away for most of the damage. Here's an instant replay involving the number 63 of Henry Kaloff here. Take a quick look back and figure out what was the cause of this caution. So, looking at Henry here, you see that number 63 up on the top side. You got the number 75 machine of Tim Powell. As they make their way through 3 and 4, double hook. River Page into James Bowden. Bowden into Henry Kaloff. Luckily for Kaloff, it's going to be a full 360 and a hard tag at that. Tire damage and maybe a little bit more on that left rear. And it looks like River Page again involved. Let's see whether or not we can determine fault with this one, as we'll take a second replay, this time on board with the number 24 of River Page. Take a ride now with River, and let's see what we can find out. It looks like definitely River Page getting a bump there to send him in, and that means at that rate that River might not be assigned blame. There's Alexander Balderas pulling up with him, and Jordan Owens in company, and so it just looks like a chain reaction brings the field to a standstill again. Yellow flag out for the 3rd time today. Caution out again here in Alabama. Taking a look back live, drivers putting themselves together. Pit road is expected to be somewhat popular with the back half of the field, although you can see now a bit of a separation. Ben Bushnell is going to be one of few in the second half of the track to stay out. However, now you can see River Page decides to go in. Looks like Chase Schaefer going to disconnect from the session, although he was not racing with us tonight. The 99 taking a brief look in, and we haven't seen much of Schaefer so far in SNT. Maybe a sign of things to come. Now as drivers make their way in, here comes again Matthew Weeks, and the race off pit road is only just begun. Mac Grab going to be side by side now, and that's going to be Luna Albright. Mac and Luna lead him out. It looks like minor advantage for Albright. Then from there, you're going to have the number 96, Jim Thurston, and then you'll see, well, there's Timothy Powell, Matthew Weeks, there's Jordan Owens, who finds himself now just behind Dana Van Meter. So the rest of the field gets put together. However, we do have 7 drivers who stayed out. Jordan Kuntz down to Carter Casey. Alexander Balderas going to retire from the day after that one, although it does not look like he was involved. River Page as well looks like he heads down a pit road, and so looks like not incidents causing this one, but it looks like the 24 making it down and in. he's going to get back on the circuit. So Balderas looks to be the one and only retiree of which, and the 24 Toyota Supra will continue driving. Luckily, that's going to keep us with a field now of 24, as Alexander Balderas is the first retiree. Majority of the field still intact, and the one retirement does not appear to be due to damage-related concerns. Jordan Kuntz, Alec Daffin, former teammates for Shaw Racing 2 seasons ago. Now they're back on track again, but the number 48 is instead for Shaw Racing, and the 99 is once again independent, and he's got that backup from Premier Concrete Solutions. Shaw Racing has seen both drivers come and go as elite competitors, and the biggest question becomes whether or not Shaw Racing can find the championship once again. They did so with Jordan Kuntz, but Alec Daffin has not yet been able to get up there and collect a championship of his own. He does have one title to his name with Shaw Racing, and a notable one at that, the Integrity Ignite Series Championship. In one of the most competitive Xfinity fields year over year, Alec Daffin went on a rampage in the playoffs, and he went 100% podium rate in the final 5 races. So Alec knows what it takes to get it done with a very competitive field that has seen success in other leagues. Now, even then, Alec Daffin has not yet been able to break out here, and his arch rival in this series, it remains Jordan Kuntz. They are the two most established and most successful drivers, and maybe the only driver to add to that conversation is Matthew Weeks. Otherwise, it is these two drivers that define what this series is made of. They're looking to do battle once again, and it's no better place than Talladega, where they're going to be equally matched on pace, and with still 40-plus laps to go, there's a lot of time to see which of the two stands out on top. Rounding turn 4, iRacing official pace car is going to say goodbye once again. Still got a half a lap though until that point. Looks like despite a little bit of that back end damage, Kenneth Gorell going to decide to stay out, and Kenneth finding himself up now in the 5th position. Best spot Kenneth has been in all night long, save for brief moments inside the top 4. A little bit of shuffling back and forth for Kenneth, involved in one caution today, albeit briefly, and from as low as 15th and a start of 13th, Kenneth is up 8 on the day, with potential to gain even more so now. Kenneth's going to be beside Gino Marrow. Ben Bushnell once again going to have a chance at the front. Ben qualified inside the top 10. Haven't seen much of him though. Hasn't been all too aggressive. Nevertheless, he is there. He is in 6th. And alongside him will be Carter Casey for this starting grid once again, putting it together. And Jordan Kuntz, the driver that will lead him 4th back into racing pace. Here we go. Jordan Kuntz, Alec Daffin, top 2 drivers. 99 going to be on the bottom, the 48 up on top. Last time through, both line leaders got such a good jump, they started working with each other. And the green flag's out again. Looks like Alec a solid jump, but not enough to best Vinny Tigner immediately. He's definitely going to be right there now as they come across the line again. Toe-to-toe. Looks like some drivers already taking it 3, notably Jim Thurston now, but Luna Albright, both of which going to be connected and working down that back straightaway, going 3 wide this time around. For the first time at the front of the field, 2 drivers are sticking it up there on the high side. However, still not a massive movement, and this is where strength in numbers is really necessary. Sometimes we say it about the middle part of the track, whether it is Daytona, Talladega, or Atlanta. Usually you need a few more drivers on that middle to make it as strong as the inside. But tell you this much about the outside, you cannot make it work here with just 2 drivers. End of story. And it looks like the story has once again ended here for the 2 who were once right beside the top 5 drivers. Well, they've fallen back once again, and it's simple as that. You cannot sustain yourself without support. Now, Connor Asbell might be coming through and provide some reinforcements, but that doesn't mean it's going to be an immediate turnaround here. Coming off of the back straight, it looks like a little bit more momentum on the positive side, and as they come through turns 3 and 4, that really decides here whether or not there's something to worry about for these leaders, although it looks like now Alec Daffin and Jordan Kuntz are again together, and this time they're going to be single file and away from all those around them. It's going to be Vinny Tigner as defense on the inside line, 3rd row back. And 3 wide really not going to pan out. Even 2 wide here facing struggles. Gino Marowen, Carter Casey significantly behind the line leaders of the inside group. For now, Alec Daffin and Jordan Kuntz both getting away big time compared to their opposition. And rivals now going to be working together, and that's what it's all about at the front of the field, communicating with the drivers around you no matter who they are. You have to work with just about every driver from all reigns of the field, whether or not they've been up there since the beginning, whether or not they just showed up to the head of the pack. Now it's about time you find out who is best, even if you don't know them all too well. Now, making it through side by side, 36 laps in, I think everyone's got a fair understanding of who's the best to work with and who's best not to work with. No real outliers on that negative side, but the drivers like Tigner and Marrow have been together for a while, and you can see again, they're back with each other. Take a ride on board now with Gino Marrow. We'll show you some driver telemetry as well. Taking this lap-long ride with Gino Marrow, you might see one thing. His speed has been rather constant. He hasn't been switching gears, and notably, he got ahead of Vinny Tigner rather than staying behind. And so now he's going to be the overall race leader. Forget line leading. He's got the field in his back pocket. Now it's going to be Alec Daffin deciding to work with Carter Casey here to put that second groove together and maybe beginning to mount a challenge. Here comes 3 wide, Jordan Owens and company. It's going to be Luna Albright right there, Connor Asbell, and at the very tail end of the number 29, who's back on the lead lap as well, that's Matthew White. So 4 drivers all the way up high. That's going to be upstairs. Then you got 5 to 6 drivers in the middle groove. Rest of the field, all of which are going to find themselves now put together on the bottom. Alexander Balderas, by the way, he did return, decided not to retire. Looks like internet troubles are the issue for the 95 team, and as such, if we take a look back, now we have no retirees, but we do have a driver who is now due to go 3 laps down very, very soon. 39 laps in out of 80, halfway through the race, halfway through the season. We've hit that 50% point on the campaign, and it looks like Alexander Balderas, no choice but to stay down, but he's going to stay on the banking for a brief moment. Luckily, he decides to get away and does not cause any additional troubles. There's the number 95 down low. Going to bring us maybe briefly 4 wide, but not with 4 rows of competitive driving, just 4 rows for a second. And now you're beginning to see 3 wide really work out here at the head of the field. Jordan Owens finally right place, right time for the 45, and as you can see, he's up and ahead, bringing the gap up to negatives as he's going to find himself leading. No longer does he have the deficit. The field is now behind him, and as such, he's going to bring with him Luna Albright, a driver who's not gotten the time to shine at the front, and Connor Asbell alike. Now, these are drivers who have been waiting to make this different strategy play out. They've not been conventionally at the front of the field, at least for the most part here, and that's what makes it interesting. How will they react now as we put things together again up in front? Do they understand what the right thing is to do in certain situations? Do they have the proper reaction? Not only reaction time, but reaction choices when things get dicey. 3 wide middle looks to be the worst place to be. If you're not Alec Daffin, it's not going to be fun to be in the middle here. And we could take a look on board inside someone's cockpit to really explain exactly why we feel that way here at FTN. Here's a look with River Page. You got a driver to your left, you got a driver to your right, you have a driver to your left front, to your right front, you have a driver to your rear. Let's take a look at that backside too, because that's also something you got to watch. Your rear view mirror. You got a driver who's going to be on your left and right on the backside of your 3 wide to the middle. But as you can see, River is no longer in the middle. He finds himself instead up to the ceiling, and as such, River gonna find himself really close to Ben Bushnell here, and he's gonna take it 3 wide top. Bushnell tagged by the number 75. It's gonna be now 2 drivers coming down. Tim Powell, Ben Bushnell. Yellow flag will be due to fly for the 4th time tonight, if consistent with all other calls, and that it will be yellow flag due to come out. And 42 laps in out of 80, Ben Bushnell, among others, are gonna get involved, though it looks like the number 55 luckily gets away from most other drivers. Still going to be some significant contact. Here's an instant replay on the incident as we went briefly 4 wide. River Page trying to squeeze at 3. And then you take a look from here. We're going to have to slow it down, as a matter of fact, to really show you what happened. Tim Powell, who was up in, of course, the middle of the pack, very close to this instance, but Ben Bushnell is where things all began. He was right there with River Page, and coming off, it looks like maybe Ben slightly came up to Page, then comes right down to Tim Powell, sliding down the circuit, going to be coming through, hitting the wall, and a violent hit at that for the 55. Tim Powell additionally going to slide down, and for him, it looks like nothing else comes of it. Multiple drivers involved in this one, and the 2 of which, well, lucky to keep on going, but it looks like some front-end contact that is significant for Ben Bushnell. If he's going to continue, he's going to have to come down to pit road, and it looks like he's already taking that faster pair, so Ben Bushnell will be fine to keep on going. However, he's going to be significantly behind if he gets that chance. Nevertheless, another call that might be a little bit late on the field, as it looks like a very similar incident to our second caution has not yet been called as a yellow flag worthy incident. Side by side, Jim Thurston, River Page, Alexander Balderas up top, and it looks like now they're beginning to maybe break away from the rest of the outside groove. Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports now all together, and as they do so, Alexander Balderas is a lapper, so he can't really play as the biggest interfering driver, because that's not going to lead anyone to be happy with him, but he played his part and just got 2 drivers on the lead lap up to the head of the field. Thurston with a mean block there on the 71 of Gino Marrow. What does Gino do? Gino goes high and decides to make it 3 wide for the race lead. Alexander Balderas is actually going to go with Gino Marrow here, interestingly enough. And the 95 now, I'm not sure what the plan is, but he's going to take Gino for a ride. Hopefully not a wild one. Side by side, now close with River Page, hoping not to replicate that last incident River was very distantly involved in. And here we go again. Lap driver getting involved with the leaders is murky business. Luckily for Balderas, or maybe thankfully, Balderas has some previous super speedway experience that shows he knows what he's doing. But at the same time, well, now it just becomes tricky to understand whether or not he's got what it takes to really hold fort. Gino Marrow, River Page, Vinny Tigner. Those are the line leaders now. Looks like Thurston is content in keeping his teammate out ahead rather than leading a line. That's going to be the best thing about these 2 drivers for Power Smash Infinity Speed. They have each other's back, and more than anything else, their goal is to succeed together, at least for these opening laps. It looks like they've been alongside each other, and contact! Big contact at that, and it will be the big one at Talladega. Way back, Tim Powell coming up in it. Ben Bushnell, though, wrecked again, and it looks like an incident of epic proportion. Shane Wielden, Vinny Tigner just got away. Jordan Kuntz, though, is destroyed. Caution is out. Take a look back at this one. It is huge. And this is just what happened. So you'll see the number 99 machine of Jordan Kuhn's going to be up at the head of the pack. Kenneth Gurrell, Alexander Balderas rather close, and it looks like that might be where things begin. Gurrell down to Balderas, then the lapper gets in 99 of Kuntz. Jordan Kuntz comes right up the track with them. It'll be the number 71 of Gino Marro. Hit then is going to be the 77 of Tyler Sevier. Then Ben Bushnell tags Shane Wheeldon. Roger also gets a hit. Shane Wheeldon comes up the track and is lucky not to be hit by anyone else. The 40 nearly makes additional contact. And Shane Wheeldon, the last of many to be involved. Caution, he's out again. 46 laps in, out of 80 here. And for many drivers, it'll be their very first time breaking into the fast repair bank. Jordan Kuntz third down to 20th as a result. That's the lowest spot he's been in all throughout the night. All the way down to the bottom of the circuit. In terms of track position, Jordan Kuntz a long way to come up from here. So, out of pit road, Jim Thurston, Gino Marro, Connor Asbell, Vinny Tigner, and Kenneth Gurrell, all of which making their way out rather quickly. And Gino now going to find himself positioned 2 again. Jim Thurston back up in front, 47 laps in out of 80, and now a total of only 34 laps to go. Got a little bit of time under yellow before we go green once more, so we'll bring you some FTN nonstop coverage. You won't miss a thing. You'll still be watching the racing, but at the same time, we'll take a chance to thank all of our partners live on FTN who have brought this action to you. We'll be right back in just a moment. You're watching the Halfway 213, and we'll return after some messages from our associates.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Welcome back with 32 laps to go of racing ahead of us when we go green. You're watching the Halfway 213 live on FTN. Saturday Night Thunder, 6 races into a 12-race campaign. And now it's going to be Jim Thurston and Gino Marrow, the drivers to watch for as they head the field. 33 laps left. 32 when we go green again, and now time is beginning to tick down quickly. 17-lap stint under green, the longest of which we've had all day long, brings us back to a point where we got ourselves a question. Is aggression going to kick in this early? It surely was kicking in more to give us such a big wreck. But next up, see it ramp even further. Wiggling tires in the final 500 yards. It looks like these drivers are ready to go at it once again. Just like we started. Green flag's out. It's going to be restart number 3. Jim Thurston going to bring us through the gears once again. Gino Marrow on his outside, but Marrow not able to contend. Thurston with a preferable drive, and he goes up top. And so Jim Thurston now going to hold the race lead. With them, Connor Asbell going to be on the inside line for the first time tonight. Connor getting a chance up at the front. Great look for Connor to, of course, make this move up on strategy, finessing his way here. Talking about the pit stop counter. Let's see who's gone in the most and who's gone in the least. A major block there by Gino Marrow, and he's going to show for certain he is not afraid to push a little bit more aggressively when it comes to his racing approach. Now, pit stop counts tease most drivers in the 3 to 4 range. The average still comes in at about 4, shall we say, across most drivers anyway. Gino's only gone down 3 times. Vinny Tigner, same goes. No driver now who is inside the top 20 has gone in less than 3 times, and no driver at all has gone in more than 5 times here. It looks like Matthew White, one of the notable exceptions. Then you got someone like Matthew Weeks. Otherwise, 5 is almost unheard of now. It looks like most of which have decided to stay in that very similar range where whenever we get a caution, that really dictates things. So here we go again. It's going to be time for Shaw Racing's number 48 to get up in the mix. 3 wide goes River Page and Jordan Kuntz. Now, these 2 drivers started the year battling against each other. You might not remember it as Luna Albright really makes it hard for that third group to work together. Could have been a big bobble. Luckily, it looks like instead they're going to go 4 wide because they have the room to. They're going to put Luna out the way and restack them and reset them once more. Now, talking about Jordan Kuntz and River Page once again, you might remember that SNT was holding some Cash Cup races to kick off our year. At Kansas, Jordan Kuntz came in after our first ever FTN win of 2024. He got the job done in Iowa and was looking to go for a back-to-back victory when River Page decided to go at him, and it became a joust to remember. What ended up happening was Jordan Kuntz was leading the way, then he got the chrome hook. Shall we say a hook? Some often say the chrome horn, but simply put, it was a hook up a little bit higher the track, and Jordan Kuntz ended up sliding up the circuit, and from then on out, his tires were shot in Kansas, and River won in Tornado Alley. It's been more than a half year since, so there's been a lot of time in between those 2 incidents, but at the same time, it's very infrequent we see River and Jordan working together. Well, now it looks like River's going to be sandwiched between 2 Jordans, Kuntz and Owens, because now Jordan Owens is going to be leading this race, the 45 up high. Now finds himself up to the top of the circuit. He's got the track position. He's got the race lead. And there you have it now. Jordan Kuntz in the number 45. He's going to be bested temporarily by Jordan Owens. Doing a good job so far up at the head of the field for Owens. He has been up here before. However, it has been sparingly in these opening laps. And when we talk about sparingly, we mean it. He's been as high as 2nd before, starting in 7th, as low as 25th. He's been around the way. He's seen it from the top to the bottom so far. This has not been a race that has been too easy for Jordan Owens. Definitely has been one where he's been competitive, but it hasn't been simple for him to get there. Coming across the line once again, it'll be Jim Thurston leading, and Gino Marrow now looking to take it down to the bottom. Let's see now what that number 71 can do, taking it low side. And once again, he's got Connor Asbell with him. The 71, the 72 come together once more. Kenneth Garrell, amid all the setbacks, he's still right where he needs to be, third in the inside groove, although I have a hunch many of these drivers now, including Garrell, might have gone through their one and only fast repair. Let's talk about that. Who has and who hasn't? Well, looks like Garrell definitely has. Gino Marrow, your race leader, he's one and only, as has Dana Van Meter, Jordan Kuntz, Patrick Gentner. Looks like the number 12 of Tim Powell. Also, you're going to see Carter Casey as Roger Sevier, Ben Bushnell. So we do have a list of drivers accruing that have used it, and we might see Kenneth Garrell losing it once again. Oh, what a save it was! Kenneth Garrell cautions out, nevertheless, but the 57, fantastic job. Not as fantastic for Dana Van Meter and those behind him. Caution is out once more. Take a look back. It's number 27 of Dana Van Meter, the 00 of Patrick Gentner. And as we bring it back for an instant replay, you'll see exactly what caused it. So the 00 Patrick Gentner getting involved, but it looks like it might have started closer up to where Dana Van Meter was. We saw 3-4 wide, and that's first when Kenneth Garrell went around. Next up, as we now have ourselves our fourth yellow flag, River Page shoots up high, but Dana Van Meter hooked by Jordan Kuntz. That will send Dana down the track, sliding, and then into Matthew Weeks, and then Luna Albridge. The rest of the field does a good job, but Patrick Gentner nowhere to go. Tim Powell might have gotten the wreck avoidance of the day there, as the number 75 just barely makes it through. We're going to take a look back here with Tim on board, because it looks like he just barely negotiated through a war zone in those final moments before the yellow. Just staying calm is what got him through. Great work there from Tim Powell, and you'll see him get away from what was left of that wreck, and the remnants still remain on the track. Tim Powell makes his way through. Yellow flag is going to be out now for the fourth time today. Up in the front of the field, it'll be Connor Asbell, your overall race leader, and doing a wonderful job at that with 26 laps to go. Connor's first chance at the head of the field has gone swimmingly so far. Let's see what's up next for him as the 72 might bring it down a pit road here. Let's see what happens. Matter of fact, most drivers went down a pit road last time by, some of which might decide to go down for a second instance as the Power Smash drivers go down to the apron. Let's see if it's a fake pit or if they decide to go in for real this time. Connor Asbell decides he will stay out, and it looks like River Page does as well, but Jim Thurston does not look like he's going to decide to stay with the rest of the field there. The 96, he does something a little bit different and makes his way down and in. Gonna go one lap to green this time. 26 laps to go, coming down to only 25. Called on the iRacing pace car, though, is to extend it, and so we have a little bit more time as we'll have ourselves a restart with 23 laps remaining. James Bowden right now going to be in 8th, and although he's been involved in a little bit of trouble, 23rd up to 9th, one of our biggest movers on the day, net favor of 14 places. Great job there for James Bowden, someone we have not mentioned all too much of short of getting involved in the caution. Well, James has speed here, and it looks like he's got enough to really put up a serious fight if push comes to shove with the drivers around him here. Let's see what happens, though. He's got a few drivers he has not worked with tonight, including Matt Grab, the 75 there, and that's going to be Tim Powell. And all of a sudden, they'll be in the mix together here. They'll all have to work together with 25 to go. This is the home stretch. If anything, even a few cautions, 2 or 3 cautions, would really take away about 10 racing laps. That's what it comes down to here. Cautions are some 3 or 4 laps apiece. Then you have, of course, that setup lap where we reform, restack the circuit, and we might have a lap or 2 in between cautions. But then you'll see another yellow flag, and that gets us into a vicious cycle where even 2 yellow flags would take away about half of the racing time we have on the circuit. That's what it comes down to here. Even if we have ourselves a real good position to go for green flag racing, one wrong move could make things change drastically. Connor Asbell will lead the field with coming to 1 lap to go. A little bit more time to thank some of our FTN associates, and we'll bring you back by the time we go green once again. You're watching live on FTN. Let's bring you some promotional coverage before we go green. Flag racing with 25 laps to go. We'll be right back. Ready to go racing once more. 24 laps to go here. Connor Asbell, Gino Marrow, number 72 on the inside, the number 71 on the high groove. And so, familiar numbers, familiar places, and River Page finds himself behind Asbell. I think the best two drivers together this race as a whole. Maybe not teammates, and of course very few races with each other as a whole, but Gino Marrow and Vinny Tigner have had a connection today, and it looks like it's worked out for them all throughout the night. Very little disconnect between these two drivers, both when it comes to where they are on track and when they are together. These two have a chance to stick to each other in the final few laps. I have a feeling we're going to see a very good fight with both Tigner and Gino Marrow as strong contenders to come away with the overall race win. Let's see now what happens for the driver of the number 72. Connor Asbell getting a chance to lead. However, he's not gotten many opportunities to do so. And now it'll be Gino Marrow and, of course, Connor Asbell getting us back to green. 23 laps to go. And this is what it's all about here. Home stretch racing in the final laps of Talladega. Asbell going to get the jump with River Page on the bottom. And it'll be Gino Marrow right there with. Green flag out, inside groove, advantageous again. And Marrow cannot suffice to get by River Page. Now it's going to be Connor Asbell blocking up to the high side. An immediate move that's going to displace the 71 of Marrow. He'll go down low rapidly, and a really aggressive take there for the 72 of Asbell. He's lucky to get away with that one, and now looking to reset himself. Hopefully not going to break out some busted equipment in the next lap or two. Speaking of the next lap, live on FTN, we're going to crank it up once more, courtesy of our friends at TrackCams22.com. TrackCams for Gourmets provides iRacing's highest quality cameras. The best broadcasters choose the best cameras. You can visit TrackCams22.com or Facebook.com/TrackCams today and get yourself a taste of iRacing's premier camera replay system. We're going to crank it up now with 22 laps remaining here from Talladega. Let's get loud and live here from the virtual high banks in Alabama, as now we are gonna crank it up with 22 laps to go. 17 laps remaining, rounding through turns 3 and 4. It's going to be Jim Thurston right here with Connor Asbell remaining 3 wide further on back. But when we say further on back at this rate, it means just a few drivers behind. Differences are minimal across the field when it comes to speed, and now that distance has been closed in even further. This is what it's all about, and it looks like for Jim Thurston, he's continuing to hold that strength, not really having much a problem when it comes to holding position, but now whether or not his teammate River Page can get up there remains a bigger question. He's got a few roadblocks to get through. Not to say they're slow by any means, but more so, he just is not around the right group of people for him to really succeed in this race. Everyone going out there for their own individual expectations, and for Thurston, he usually has a driver or two to work with. Balderas unfortunately disconnected far earlier into this race than anticipated, and now it means it will be Page and Thurston and Page together against a field of independent drivers who have not put much to concern, respecting, of course, all-out team racing. Every driver for themselves here at Talladega usually, but now it looks like Connor Asbell and company have to understand the team element will come back into play very, very soon. It might actually be in their favor, though, because it means so many drivers will have to stack up against one group in the field. We might see a little bit of a different attitude held for those who sort of have that team-based advantage. It might not end up being an advantage when all is said and done. That's what it comes down to when it comes to communication. Sometimes noticing things is much more important than acting without knowledge. Knowledge sometimes, of course, you can't really act on as your driver alone. It's not about what you know. Oftentimes, it's about who you know. But if you know one thing for certain, it can help you out and go in the distance all throughout the way. That's the big difference here. Who has the understanding and who will decide to move? The best drivers are those who can do both at the same time. Let's see who is the best driver, though, because that's going to be decided in 14 laps time. 14 laps to go. That is the difference between victory lane for one driver and defeat for all the others, as Jim Thurston goes way high, 96 up to the ceiling of the circuit, and that block not really going to bring in any other position, but it definitely makes a statement. Maybe not the best statement to make here, given the fact it isn't anything much of a gain, and so time will tell whether or not Thurston's making the right moves, but that was as aggressive as it gets. 4 wide for the race lead. River Page comes through, breaking into the middle. That's going to leave Gino Marrow stranded, but eventually Thurston ends up the lonely driver as a result of the shuffling back and forth. This is getting trickier now for drivers to handle, but River Page, it looks like we were questioning whether or not he can make it up to his teammate. Now he holds his teammate's place. It's going to be the 24 holding the race lead, and here comes Connor Asbell down to the bottom, and with them will be the number 29. These two are teammates, mind you, so now we are seeing another group of drivers working together. Matthew White, who was laps down to begin this race, no longer does he find himself burdened by being in the back of the field with no position. Instead, he's the driver now, with a push to give to Connor Asbell. Connor, for the longest time, looked to be lonely with nobody else to really work with on track. Well, that has changed. And it looks like it's changed for the better for that driver, the 72. Up next, we'll see whether or not anything else can come of it, because Henry Kowloff also in the mix here. Henry was involved in the previous incident. He went spinning, had some back-end damage, but it looks like now one of our former SNT winners at this very track is beginning to see the light. Contact! Alec Daffin goes down to the apron. Nothing more that Daffin can do, but he's going to make a very errant merge back into the track, and it worked. That could have been catastrophic. Luckily, Connor Asbell was not only forgiving, but very tolerant of that rushed bump up to number 72, and for as much trouble as it could have been, that's going to save Alec Daffin's race, and Connor Asbell might have saved everyone else's. Fantastic work there for the number 72. It looks like now Alec Daffin's going to find himself holding fort, but he's going to get shoved rather aggressively here. River Page up on the high side, and here we go again. 24, the 48 respectively, going at each other toe-to-toe, 2 by 2. 11 laps to go this time by from Talladega. River Page now can see a double file race playing out once again. You got Page on the high side with Henry Kaloff and then Matt Grab. Page and Kaloff have raced each other many a time in the IORA Cup Series, among others, and Alec Daffin right now, maybe not as much experience with Connor Asbell, but Connor's been here for more than a season and a half coming into tonight's race. Now, veterans face off. Up and ahead. Matthew White might be the first of the rookies here because it's going to be that number 29 who's working with Connor Asbell coming in to help out the 72, the more established driver in breaking out and getting that win. And the number 1, then just a little bit further on back, Elijah Hawhey, a rookie with no experience and no ties to any other driver. Elijah's here tonight, and he finds himself now up into 7th. What can he do? That remains to be seen. And he's now going to be on the bottom, touching the apron just a little bit, and he doesn't want to send himself sideways, and hopefully just going to keep it calm here. As hard as that is, you got to manage and be a little bit more calm to the drivers around you. That ends up going a long way. Even if now everyone decides to get aggressive, you cannot be the driver that causes things to flip in a bad direction. Coming to the single digits this time by. It will be 9 laps remaining. 3 wide so far among the race leaders once again, but what was an anomaly only 15 to 20 laps ago has become the norm. Everyone's decided to take it to their own, finding more room and making more room out of the pre-existing track. You can't really invent room at Talladega. There is so much, you won't have to really create your own space, except for Alec Daffin going down to the apron quickly and coming back up. Everyone's been rather comfortable with using what they have in the banking. Of course, you don't want to go anywhere lower, but high speeds can be maintained all throughout this circuit. So far for Alec Daffin, the inside groove has treated him well enough to stay as its line leader, but it doesn't mean he's the overall quickest driver. If we talk about mile-an-hour speeds, lap over lap, they are remarkably similar for all those in the pack. 188 miles an hour seems to be the average, but of your line leaders, you can see across the line, Vinny Tigner was noticeably quicker last time by, and it looks like now with the boost of momentum on the inside, Alec Daffin might be able to take that honor this time through. 8 laps remaining. Lapper Dana Van Meter gets away and shoots down the inside of the track and makes sure no chance of getting involved. And here comes Ben Bushnell, another lapper as well. No dice. Neither driver going to get involved, and hopefully it means that we've got a good enough track, an empty enough track, and a clean track to finish this race out. Now racing down the back straightaway, there's Jordan Owens, there is Jordan Kuntz. The Jordans find themselves further on back. 48 machine of Alec Daffin going to be up there with River Page, and the 72 of Connor Asbell with Henry Kaloff 2x2 in that second row. Vinny Tigner no longer able to hang on to the opening 2 rows, and instead he finds himself now further on back in, well, technically speaking, he's in 5th, but at the same time, he is 3rd in the 3rd row, which could mean he's anywhere from 5th down to 7th, but that's going to change with Jim Thurston pushing aggressively. 7 laps to go. Here comes the Power Staff Infinity Speed duo. It looks like now Thurston maybe with a chance to really put himself back up there, as long as he can keep on going. In these next few laps, we might see the number 96 make his way through and really make an impact. Just a car length away on the wrong line. I'm sure that's exactly how Thurston feels. He's close to where he wants to be. He's close to where he needs to be succeed here. Success comes down to that teamwork in Talladega, and now the 2 strongest teammates who have that official bond, well, they find themselves so close, but Vinny Tigner is standing in their way. Alec Daffin, meanwhile, has decided to keep himself down to the bottle. Of course, bottom side, and while bottled up, he does have a chance to not only escape an incident, but also get a heavy shove from Connor Asbell, who has a teammate right behind him. So Alec Daffin might be in the best position in this lap anyway. You can see he's got that clear-cut edge through 1 and 2. But it's going to shift back and forth. The dynamic between the drivers who are further behind also means a lot. Someone like a Timothy Powell being different from someone like a Kenneth Gorell. Someone like Gino Marrow being different from Elijah Hawkey. Those drivers who are 5 or 6 spots back, they might not have a direct impact on being the top 3 drivers who are going back and forth, leading these laps, but they also send the momentum up. You're getting that speed from the drivers who are behind you. They are building you up to this point. And then you have the leaders who are benefiting from all that. They've got the track position, and they're able to sail away at the highest speed possible, going into these turns at 190 plus miles an hour. Oh, contact, James Bowden, and it's big. Yellow flags out. We are going to overtime. Bowden, Wheeldon, among others involved. Caution is out. Take a look back as James Bowden catches a piece and heavy. Number 52 of Bowden gonna get shot up the track. There's the 75 of Tim Powell, and pow into the wall. There goes James Bowden. Down hooks Shane Wheeldon for the second time tonight. Shane Wheeldon hooked in the exact same way, and his back end gets crumpled as a result. Oh, he missed a much worse contact there. Looks like also Vinny Tigner gets away, but Jordan Kuntz does not. The number 99 of Jordan Kuntz, he's going to get away, maybe with some minor damage. We're going to take a look at the 99 specifically with a replay here and figure out how the depth of which his extended damage is. Yeah, that's front end damage. That's going to be major with how little time we have. Not a good position to be in here if you're the 99 of Kuntz. And now his race-winning chances are going to be deliberately, of course, not necessarily deliberately, but shortened big time. Not intentional, shall we say, just the heat of the moment. And now we are in green-white checkered conditions to bring this race home from Talladega. So it looks like Connor Asbell right now getting back up to the overall race leader of Vinny Tigner. With 4 laps to go, don't expect drivers to go down to pit road. At least don't expect everyone here. Let's see what Vinny Tigner decides to do. What he decides looks like it will be the word and the rule of the field. And as you can see, Vinny will stay out. So we're going to be going to overtime conditions with only 2 more laps of pacing remaining after this point. Here's what it comes down to. Green, white, checkered standard. 80 laps as a whole we have on the table. So we're due to go back green potentially at lap number 79. Now, the big question becomes whether or not we get to that point. If we do, then it'll be a natural green, white, checkered, in which it looks like it's not possible anymore, but in which the race would not be officially extended. Now, we have ourselves a green, white, checkered in overtime finish. The race will be pushed back 1 extra lap, which means we're going to be ending this race at lap 81 rather than lap 80 itself. So, with that being said, it means that any yellow flag thrown will extend the race further. If the white flag flies under any circumstance, though, it means now the race will end and it will be official checkers and or wreckers. That's what it is. Number 12 machine of Vinny Tigner right now leading the way with Henry Kaloff in second. Track position going to be a big advantage in case an incident occurs. We have 3 overtime attempts in the bank. This will be the first of which. Let's talk about the top 10 here and perhaps the biggest surprises. A few drivers we have to note who have made big gains today. 16th up to 3rd, that's where Jim Thurston stands. You got 20th up to 4th for Matt Grab. It's the highest spot he's been in all night long. River Page, he's from 22nd as the lowest and 17th to start up to 5th. You got then Alec Daffin 18th to 7th. You got then 22nd to 8th and Connor Asbell 13th up to 9th. That's going to be Kenneth Gorell, Elijah Hawhey from 14th to 10th. Of the top 10, only 3 drivers qualified inside of the top 10 at all. That's Carter Casey, first down to 6th. You got Henry Kaloff, 5th up to 2nd. And then you got Vinny Tigner leading the way from 4th all the way up. The top 10 in qualifying has not been the biggest indicator of success. However, the racing itself has. And that's really what it comes down to here. Qualifying can mean something for the first 20, 25 laps, but it really will not be the differentiator by the time we hit this point. Lap 79 of now 81. will go green at lap 80. So, inside groove going to be Vinny Tigner. He's got Jim Thurston to work with. Matt Grab and the 63 of Henry Kaloff will be put together. And with that being said, third row going to be River Page and Carter Casey alike. Carter Casey been quiet today in that number 8, although he did grab the pole, hasn't really done all too much else. And overall for Carter, he finds himself with 5 laps of 79 complete led. Not a terrible metric. Of course, some drivers have still not yet led one. The only lap led that matters is the final, but for Carter, pole position, he got it, and then he pulled all the way back and luckily subdued himself to the point of not getting in trouble. He's got himself a clean nose, and he's also got a faster pair to spare, so if we do go a little bit further into double overtime, it doesn't mean Carter is ill-equipped. He might have some of the better stuff for us so long as he avoids anything from here. 2 laps to go, this time by Vinny Tigner and Henry Kaloff will lead the field to green with just over 5 miles left. Start-finish line pushed a little bit further back for these drivers, so even if they make it through the tri-oval, they might not make it to victory lane. They might not make it back to the start-finish in one piece. That's what it comes down to. Talladega, a little bit different from Daytona, and that extra length sometimes determines winners itself. iRacing official pace car has let go, and it's time for the number 12, Vinny Tigner, to lead the field. It's the first time he's been the restart leader overall. He was up in the front row previously, but now his control car, it's a responsibility to bring us home with 2 more laps. Overtime racing from Talladega, Vinny Tigner leads us right off of the front straight, and into turns 1 and 2, it'll be Tigner just ahead of Jim Thurston. Now it's going to be Vinny Tigner still up and ahead by just about a car length. Contact back of the field doesn't cause a yellow flag. Looks like it's due. We'll go double overtime and bring us back into pacing. It's going to be Connor Asbell. Looks like just getting away. Matthew Weeks, though, contact in the back and still making contact. Here's an instant replay. Let's show you just what went wrong. So the number 11 of Matthew Weeks, you see him up top, hooked up the track with James Bowden. 2 cars, then Vinny Tigner makes it a third, the 77. Huge hit for him as well, and Tyler ends up spinning back and forth, his motor's blown. That will be his race. Matthew Weeks additionally has disconnected as well. So second overtime attempt coming at you very soon, and we'll get him restacked again as 1 lap to go. White flag, it appears to be out. Looks like, with that being said, according to timing and scoring, we're seeing the 24 of River Page as your race leader. So tonight, we are not going to see an additional attempt. And with that being said, coming across the line, River Page will be scored as your winner from Talladega. Vinny Tigner then second, Jim Thurston in third. Is that official? Well, with Vinny Tigner coming up rather slowly here, it appears River got the job done. The 24, according to time and scoring loops, will be your top driver, race winner tonight. And so, as we come down and in to the final turns, Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsport collecting a major win tonight, as not only River Page, late entry into the season, gets his first win, it'll also be the team getting a double podium. First and third, Vinny Tigner then and there will be in no longer. River Page just destroyed himself. So Vinny Tigner is going to come across the line with the checkered flag. And River Page in the final 500 yards, well, he was not the race winner. He decided to take it for a few extra laps ahead, a few extra moments ahead. But the 12 tonight gets the job done. Vinny Tigner wins from Talladega. And at long last, finding victory lane once again, Tigner comes home on top. It'll be Vinny Tigner, Jim Thurston, and Henry Kaloff An interesting way to end it, but nevertheless, it's Vinny Tigner's victory for the taking. Talladega is his. Tigner will win from Jim Thurston in second and Henry Kaloff, then and there in third. Mac Grab will be in fourth with Carter Casey. Fifth, Alec Daffin. Sixth, and Connor Asbell in seventh. Eighth place is going to be Kenneth Gorell. Luna Albright comes home in ninth despite involvement in that very first yellow flag. 10th place will be Jordan Owens when all is said and done. 11th place will be the rookie Elijah McCaughey. Then you got 12th, and that's going to be the driver, the number 29, Matthew White. 13th place, well, it's going to be Shane Wheeldon. Gino Marrow going to be 14th, and Jordan Kuntz then and there, P15. 16th place is going to be River Page after that incident at the end. Matthew Weeks 17th, James Bowden 18th, Ben Bushnell going to be 19th, and Tim Powell, position number 20. 21st place, Tyler Seaver. Then you got Dana Van Meter 22nd, Patrick Gentner in 23rd, 24th, Roger. Then you got Alexander Balderas, 25th and last of all drivers in tonight's event. Vinny Tigner due to celebrate this one, and he gets the job done from fourth to first. Tonight, as consistent as they come, and overall leading 7 laps, Vinny takes us home. And it looks like Vinny Tigner going to be making it back down a pit road here in just a few moments. The number 12 team gets it done today. Vinny Tigner, checkered flag is his, and it's been a long time coming, as we said. Now, really, he's going to be in the thick of the championship contention, throwing his hat in the ring alongside Jordan Kuntz and company. Get a word now from your top 3 finishers. Vinny Tigner getting it done, and you can see coming across the line, River Page just behind, and it'll be that number 12 collecting the race win. Vinny Tigner holding the fort and getting the job done. Let's hear now from the number 12 and see exactly what led him to this position. Your top 3 drivers will be speaking to all of which momentarily, but first of which, the driver who collects the checkered flag. Vinny, your first victory of the season here, and a big one in Talladega, getting the weight off your shoulders, putting the checkered flag in at the halfway point of our season. How does it feel back in victory lane?
It feels good. It feels really good. It's been close a few times, and it's finally nice to get to victory lane here in a restrictor plate race too. I've been out front a lot of them, but I just tend to don't finish them. I see the checker flag from the distance, but I never usually cross the line in first. So it was nice, man. It was James Thurston there gave me a hell of a push, and between the third lane when he initially gave me that push to get the lead, and then for that green white checkered, he was on me there. So thanks to him, and man, that was a lot of fun.
And it looks like tonight, able to keep yourself up there. You had a few good drafting partners all throughout the race. Let's talk about how it felt being in the pack. We had 25 drivers registered, most of which made it to the end, and it all came down to just working the draft well, which it seems you had a pretty good job of doing.
Yeah, I had a lot of good partners, between Gino, Carter was there with us, Ken. There was a good group of us that just kind of stayed up front and, worked really well together. And we were kind of controlling the front for most of it. I mean, I felt like I was up front, at least top 5 for the entire race, it felt like. So just did my thing, and the draft got a little crazy at times. The cars are definitely different from the last update that they had. So it was just a matter of getting used to that as well. And these pushes are just totally different. You definitely get a lot squirrely than you ever have. So um, that was interesting, but man, that was just extremely fun.
And it looks like perhaps one of our most exciting super speedway races overall. Now, Talladega, this track, anyone has a chance. Looks like you're able to get the job done, fending off some of the best in the field. Now, we got one more short track before our all-star break, and it's next up. It's Richmond, 150 laps going back down to the smaller size circuits. Any thoughts about what it's like to go right back down to those shorter scale events?
Yeah, it's I'm actually looking forward to it. Um, I think I've gotten better at Richmond, and depending on the conditions, if it's right and the car's not, screaming tight, I should be all right. So I'm looking forward to it, and the group of guys that we have for the season, I'm confident that we can put on a hell of a show, and so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Getting the job done, Vinny Tigner holding forward victory lane here for the number 12 team. Any last shout outs or messages you'd like to give?
Yeah, of course. Thank you to you for everything you do, and really appreciate that. And thanks to the guys that showed up tonight. We had a pretty decent car count, and the guys did a hell of a job tonight too. So put on a great show, and so yeah, thank you.
Just like that, Vinny Tigner getting the checkered flag here after 213 miles in Talladega. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And eventually, 80 laps didn't end up being the moment of victory for Vinny Tigner, so one extra lap to pace around, but really little difference it made for tonight's race. Jim Thurston, we're going to hear from next. 23 of 81 laps led, so it looks like perhaps the most laps led on the day, and a second-place finish. Tonight, didn't get yourself involved in any of the troubles, but still oh so close to finding victory lane. Jim, how you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good after that one. I mean, I don't really race this league for points or anything, so I mean, it's still a good finish, but I really was hoping we'd get the win there. We had a great restart, filed in right behind the 12 car. Thought we were gonna have a really awesome point to get to the lead there, and then they just wrecked for dead last again, and they brought the yellow out. But fun race. This league is a lot of fun whenever I run it, and yeah, I just kind of wish that would have went green.
And one thing to note, yeah, yellow flags making the biggest difference when it came to strategy, although it looks like when it came down to pit strategy, really not much going on. Tires didn't seem to mean much. Fuel ended up being settled out. What was it to you that was the biggest thing for your strategy to get to the end of this race?
Just being up front is the best strategy because this car overheats so quick that you can't really shove someone for more than about half a lap or so, and you're just going to be putting it into the temps you don't want it to be at, and it's not easy to cool it off either. So yeah, everything I needed to do I did, except for just be the leader on the final restart. But um yeah, fun race.
Just like that, Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports coming away with another strong result. River Page ending his race, maybe a little bit too early compared to the start-finish line, but again, strong showing from both of you. Richmond up next on the table, maybe a chance you'll come back again?
Yeah, I love that track. I want to see how this car drives with the tire update or whatever they did with it. I think that's going to be a fun combo. And yeah, I think I finished this race with 0x, which is kind of weird for a Talladega race. But yeah, I like talent tracks with this car. So if I can run it next week, you can count me in.
And looking to see what you might have to offer, hoping to find that first victory very close tonight, Jim. Any last messages after coming away with second here from Talladega?
Just thanks to Power Smash Infinity Speed Motorsports. Just a lot of fun racing.
There we go. 96 team, Jim Thurston, 23 laps led in a second place finish. Great race overall. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And so, one final driver we'd like to speak to, that's the number 63 of Henry Kaloff, who's found success here before in SNT, and finds his way back up to the podium after a long, hard-fought night of racing.
Hello. Yeah, so pretty good race for the 63 team and all that. So I think lap 30 we got turned around there, but we kept our head in the game and found ourselves towards the front to the end, and I was a little bit surprised we didn't go into overtime there, but I guess it is what it is, and still got third, so really good result.
And a good result to, of course, keep note of. No laps led on the day, but you found yourself all around the front runners from start to finish. You started in 5th, so track position, a big thing for you to, of course, hold on to from the beginning. And even from then on out, you found yourself up in front, running competitive laps. So what was it like for you? Because it seems like you spent the majority of the race up there in the top 10.
Yeah, and it's just at SuperSpeedways, it's not about who who's your teammate, and if you even have the same manufacturer. It's really just about who you trust and who you want to work with the most. And I mean, towards the end of it all, I was trying to push River, but the gauges were just kind of spiking, and so I didn't want to blow the engine up again like I did last season at Talladega. So. But still, really good result. I mean, we were at the back for a little bit, but we made our way to the front, and it was a little bit tight there towards the end, but we managed to hang on and all that. So P3, that's really good result, and I think that'll really help us some points.
And a big points day just a few weeks out from opening up the playoffs. You got 2 more chances to really lock yourself in and cement that opportunity. First of which, we're going back down to the short tracks in Richmond, and then we got Pocono. How are you feeling about your chances as we get closer and closer to the playoffs?
I mean, Richmond's definitely one of my best short tracks. I mean, I won there in OSRL just a couple nights ago, so I think Richmond will be pretty good. I think we definitely can shoot for top 5, and Pocono I'm not too sure about. Probably top 10 would be a good mindset, and we'll be good to go from that point on.
And now looking for a chance to maybe back up that victory from Thursday come next week. Nevertheless, Henry Kaloff, 3rd place here from Talladega. Any last shout-outs or messages you'd like to give out?
Yeah, I want to thank those who support my team, and to all my relatives, and also I want to give a shout out to All Sports Pass Podcast. Subscribe to their YouTube channel and follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and that's really all I got.
Just like that, Henry Kaloff, P3 on the day here from Talladega, getting it done, starting in top 5 and finishing there as well. Thank you again for stopping by.
Yep, thank you.
And so now only 2 chances for drivers to get the job done and make it into the playoffs. It is a 10-driver format. Very few will be entered, and very few will come out with a chance. 2 2-round circumstances. Round of 10, round of 5. One of which, of course, may be a little bit easier to enter. That round of 5 will determine the championship with 2 races per round. Of course, we're 2 races away now from regular season concluding, and when we can go racing next, it will be at Richmond. Henry Kaloff today 3rd, Jim Thurston coming home in 2nd, and Vinny Tigner as your race winner, getting the job done after 80 laps of racing and that 1 extra pacing to the very end with a green-white checkered finish. Checkered flag falls on another day of SNT action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's coverage from the virtual Talladega SuperSpeedway. You've been watching Saturday Night Thunder and the halfway 213. I've been your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. It's always greatly appreciated. If you'd like to join the racing on SNT, scan the QR code on your screen right now, and you can find yourself a directory to all FTN broadcasted leagues from Monday to Sunday and everywhere in between. Thank you again for tuning in live on FTN Broadcasting. We hope you have a fantastic night.